And love, I'm Nielle.
And I'm Stacy.
And we're your hosts of the Black Press USA's morning show, Let It Be Known. We're here at the Smithsonian African American Culture and History Museum to find out how folks are feeling about the Trump administration possibly removing the bottom two floors, which cover the slave trade,
Emmett Till,
right, civil rights, black
Reconstruction.
codes, all of the things that are a part of American history.
Said he was a transitional candidate. It wasn't a transition. He was not going to have a sex change operation, but it was transitional from smart to dumb, from elite to very non-elite, and then Kamala was even Howard was not Harvard. You couldn't even point this out. This is probably a racist thing to say or something. Right. And then by the time you get to Walz, it's way worse. It's the credentials are even dumber than Kamala's. There are no smart people left. Yale law, Obama was Harvard law. I think Kerry was Harvard undergrad. And there was some way, the Democratic Party used to be more elite. And then when Biden said he was a transitional candidate, it wasn't a transition. He was not going to have a sex change operation, but it was transitional from smart to dumb, from elite to very non-elite, and then Kamala was even Howard was not Harvard. You couldn't even point this out. This is probably a racist thing to say or something. Right. And then by the time you get to Walz, it's way worse.
Good morning. Welcome to another edition of Let It Be Known. I am your host, Stacy Brown. This is the morning show for Black America.
A peace and love. I'm your co-host, Nielle, and we're going to dive into some trending topics and headlines that are impacting the Black experience. That was a lot right there, Stacy.
So because Kamala Harris went to an HBCU, she's not intelligent, she's not smart. These people, racist gone racist, and that's just the bottom line.
Yeah, I mean, HBCUs produce some of the most brilliant minds, from doctors, lawyers, dentists, politicians, some of the most important and prominent elected officials across the nation, from local, state, and federal, are HBCU graduates. So that's just a bunch of white propaganda.
So much hate, and
Jealousy,
that's
not hate,
and
jealousy.
jealousy, very much so. And yeah, the jealousy. That's a good question, actually. Did the jealousy turn to hate, or the hate turn to jealousy? Because the hate was there. Obviously, you have to hate to enslave people and to do the stuff that you continue to do all these hundreds of years to people.
Yeah, and I also think that there's a level of fear that
Mhm.
they have, which drives all of this. It's hate, it's racism, but it's also fear that the truth will begin to bleed the headlines, that they are no longer the majority. And once they realize that people of color, because it's not just going to take black people, that's when the people of color, the POC, does come into play. And then when you want to,
The ones that
when
put
you
the MAGA
wanted to
hats on,
engage,
and now they
yeah,
being
when you want to
deported.
engage the cousins, I'm talking about, like, we were having a conversation about how sometimes when you use the term people of color, it dilutes the black experience. But
Mhm.
the reality is, if when we say people of color, it does extend our numbers, and that's what the white folks in the Project 2025 folks are afraid of, is that it will get out, and the narrative, once the narrative changed that they are not in power and people really realize that, that's what they're afraid of. They no longer have
Mhm.
power and control.
Yeah, and it's so interesting that like Greer played that clip right after a clip from us visiting the Smithsonian's National Museum of African American History and Culture, um, because they are these racist folks. They want to go in there and tear that museum apart. They want to tear up Black history. They think they want to erase Black history. Um, they think they are erasing Black history, which is why we're here. Because you can't, you just got, we have to keep it going. But they want to erase Black history because they, part of that is that
Yeah.
fear, right?
Right. And like you said, the reason why we're here too is begin to shift the narrative, because the whiteness of America is totally bleeding in mainstream media, and there's so much more happening in the black community, in our experience, that's positive, that are strides to bring our community forward, and those are just not being amplified anymore. They were starting to a little bit, but not anymore, because Trump is just dominating all of the headlines. And so to be here and be able to talk about other things that are happening, like yesterday, we were at the mayor's African American mayor's conference, and you saw all of this leadership that looked like us, that's really controlling what's happening in cities all across the United States. It was such a hopeful place in yesterday for me.
Well, yeah, just Inferno 932 says that it's hate that turned into jealousy. They hated us before they met us. Then they became jealous of our successes because we are better than they are in every way. Speaking of the African American Mayors Association, and you're right. So yesterday, one of the things that obviously the big thing that struck me, and we talked about this yesterday, I was very impressed, I should say. Deion Sanders was scheduled to be the what do you call that, fireside chat guy. He was supposed to be there for the fireside chat, and he couldn't make it. He sent the video saying that he wished he could be there, whatever. And so they replaced Deion Sanders with none other than Michael Strahan.
Michael
And that was
Stratton.
very
Strahan, sorry.
Strahan. And it was extremely impressive to me because it's like, okay, one man down, one man steps up, and somebody on the same level, right? This was not, okay, Dion can't make it, so let's go get some, fifth string quarterback from, from a Division III school. They went and got Hall of Famer Michael Strahan. They went from Hall of Famer Deion Sanders to Hall of Famer Michael Strahan.
Well, when you have the budget, money talks. People pick up the phone for
Well,
money more than they will a favor.
Here's the thing though, with Michael Strahan, first of all, made tens of millions of dollars during his football career, and he's making tens of millions of dollars now with all of his other stuff. Good Morning America, the sports reporting, and of course the
Mhm.
game show and stuff like that. I mean, could they have for one appearance in Washington for 1 hour? I mean, was that really about money? I don't think it
Yeah, but
was.
most definitely. That's why he was able to jump on a plane and come. Hey, we have a budget. We need you to speak about leadership. We got 20K, 10K for you. All we need is 2, 3 hours of your time. And that was it. That's how it goes. I'm just saying. I mean, I don't think he did it out the kindness of his heart. Although, I mean, I think, you pick and choose what you want to do, and that's not a bad place to be, speaking to Black leadership, mayors from all across the country. But yeah, it was about a chat.
It's going to be an interesting conference. It appears. Um, even Eric Adams is scheduled to be there this week. And among so many others, you ran into Mayor Scott from Baltimore. You ran into other mayors as well. Mayor from Chicago.
Yeah, in Atlanta, mayor from Atlanta. As I was leaving to go catch my plane, I was so angry because I definitely wanted to talk to him. Ran across Kwame Kilpatrick, the former mayor of Detroit. I thought it was interesting to see him
That's
there.
it. That is interesting. I didn't see him. I would love to
Yeah,
have
and
seen
I
him.
was like, do I go to my plane or do I what do I do? And then I forgot that the former director for Black outreach for the Trump admin, he was a Trump supporter. So I was like, okay, I'll just call her. We really want.
Oh, gosh, I actually briefly ran into Malik Yoba, New York Undercover.
Mm-hmm. Oh, is he the
Um,
mayor?
yeah, he's not a man. I was like, what is he doing? I didn't get a chance to talk to him. He was on the phone and he went into the elevator. But the thing is, it's
Yeah,
like
but
I looked.
it
I was
was
like,
really good. Yeah. They were talking about that the title of the conference was "The Power of Now," and so they were discussing a big topic that they wanted to talk about was infrastructure, and just how that really impacts the Black community and communities of color. And so they were talking about infrastructure. Of course, technology was one. Because I think a lot of us sometimes take the internet for granted, and there are still rural places, like even in Jim Clyburn district, the senator, I mean the Congress member Jim Clyburn. There's some places that are struggling to have internet, and so that's
mhm.
still a huge issue, especially for disenfranchised communities. And so they had a lot of work to do. They were changing their leadership, and so looking forward to bringing some of those voices that we met onto the show.
ORG says after Dion talked all that nonsense about Jackson and JSU, thank goodness he didn't show. And he says, as far as Kwame, you better check your pockets. He likes to steal. Major Voice is
I
having an
was looking
issue.
forward to see. I was looking forward to seeing Deion Sanders with his 8 toes. Okay, I wanted
Oh, gosh.
to hear
He
what
couldn't
Prime
stand
had
10
to say.
toes
He
down.
wakes he could say he wakes me up when I look at in the mornings. He always has something very positive and inspirational to say. And so yeah, I was looking forward to hearing his talk. But
Ma-
Michael Strahan did an awesome job.
he did an awesome job. He really did. But Major Voice says, I understand that people will come for a check, but how do you know Michael Strahan came for a check? And I think that
Because that's yeah.
yeah, I
That's
don't
what
think he
happens
came
at
for a check.
conferences.
Yeah, but I
That's what
agree.
happened is people get paid to come.
Yeah, I don't think it was about a check for Michael Strahan, is what I was trying to say earlier as well. I just think that it was more about relationships, more about somebody had a relationship with Michael Strahan, and that is just as important at times as a check.
Hmm.
So I think that you got
Yeah.
to have you have to have connections. You got to be um, let's see, trustworthy enough. I guess I don't know. You got to have connections though. You have to. And
Yeah,
not
because
afraid
he
to
didn't stay.
to
Just so you know, afterwards he didn't stay. He didn't mingle. He didn't take no pictures with none of the mayors. He
oh
came
no, he
out and
did.
just talked
He did. He did some selfies. He stayed on that stage for a few minutes, and some of the
for
mayors did
less
come
than
up.
it was just a few minutes, and then he went out the back door, left. I'm just keeping, and it's nothing wrong. I thought that it was important that they did fill the space with somebody just as equal as Deion Sanders, and what he poured into us in conversation. I mean, I left, and so I'm not taking anything away from him being there at all.
Yeah.
I thought it
Listen,
was
it was a good
great to have him.
conversation. Yeah, they had a great fireside chat with Michael Strahan. Some things I didn't even know about him. He talked about,
Right.
and
Yeah.
that was
And he
really
just talked
good.
about his work ethic. Yeah, his work ethic and how he deals with people to get the most out of them, which was something I'm pretty sure that some of those mirrors could take away. He was funny, he was charismatic. I mean, he was awesome. And he got a
It
check.
was nice. We don't know he got a check. We don't know
Okay.
that.
Well, typically, I'm just saying, doing conferences, typically when you have big names like that and a sponsor like Aflac, you have there's a budget there for your speaker. It's nothing wrong with it. It's just how it works. Affleck is the sponsor. They provide the money so that you can get these big name people to come to your conference. That's traditionally how it works.
Yeah, I enjoyed talking to the mayor of Mount Vernon, New York. Now I forgot her
Yeah,
name,
she's good.
but she was really insightful. She was really good. She The thing about her, she kept it real, real, and she talked about the newspaper there, the Gannett paper there, that has historically treated all the public officials, certainly the mayors of Mount Vernon,
Mm.
horribly. And I know that because I worked for that paper and I covered the city of Mount Vernon about 30 years ago, 20 something years ago. And One of the great mayors, I think, in all cities was Mayor Ernie Davis of Mount Vernon. And you talk about somebody who really cared about that city. And good to hear that he's doing well. I actually was in touch with him about a year ago. He had me on his show. He has a radio show, and he's had me on that show probably a dozen times. But he reached out to me last year to come on the show again. I was surprised he still was doing the show, but it's nice. I mean, the guy really cared about the city, and this particular mayor that they have now, she obviously cares about that city. And it's good to know. It's a great city.
Yeah.
It's you know Denzel Washington, uh, uh, guys, Ossie Davis and his wife lived there, from there. And so many people, Sidney Poitier from Mount Vernon.
All
It
I kept
has a
thinking
great
about,
history.
all I kept thinking about was Heavy D and the Boys. I wanted to
Heavy
just tell
D.
her all I keep hearing is we got our own thing. But she was spitting out such good information because she was talking about how she comes from a community organizer standpoint. And I love a community organizer. So she was like, this position doesn't make me, because if it goes away, I still have a space to, help my people. And
Sure.
I really appreciated that.
Sean Patterson Howard. Thanks, Nagon 11. Yeah, she was so cool. And yeah, money earned in Mount Vernon. There you go. Listen, so this morning, I know this happened last night, but I just heard about it early this morning. We talked about Reverend Al Sharpton yesterday at his meeting with Pepsi. Well, Sharpton has secured a meeting with Target CEO Brian Cornwell. They will meet either today or tomorrow. And I thought some of the information was that came out of this, um, is that Target, according to Al Sharpton or Al Sharpton's people, asked for this meeting. Sharpton, unlike um, Reverend Jamal Bryant and others, has not called for a boycott of Target. Of
Hmm?
course, uh, Bryant is having a Target fast. Uh, the NMPA is a strategic public education and strategic buying campaign, so it's not necessarily a boycott, but but the fact that Sharpton has not, and he has said that he would decide if he will call for a boycott after this meeting. Depends on what comes out of this meeting, is what he is saying this morning. So I thought it was very, very, very interesting, Neil.
Well, I mean, it's not his fight. And the fact that he would even consider going to meet with any high powered level person at Target and not have Pastor Jamal Bryant at the table, it's a bad look for him to me. Because you can't co-opt somebody else's, plan and vision that is working. What Jamal Bryant is doing is working. And this is where, it's like, shh, don't say that out loud. But when are we gonna have the conversation? You know what I mean? That is not cool for Reverend Al Sharpton to go and meet with Target. Now, he met with Pepsi. We had our views about that. And I said focus on the State of the People tour. But from him now to have try to co-opt the headline that he's going to meet with Target, he's not speaking for us.
It's interesting
He
that
don't
he's that
Target.
this meeting
Target
has happened. Go ahead. Go ahead.
speak for us.
Yeah, it's interesting that this meeting is occurring. Like I said, it's today or tomorrow as Jamal Bryant's Target Fast ends on Sunday. Um,
It's
I
not
think
cool. Not cool at all.
it's very interesting, and also, like you said, Jamal Bryant should be there. Benjamin Chavis should be there. Derek Johnson should be there. This is
And
something.
so should
See,
Dr. Chavis. And so should Dr.
that's what I
Chavis.
said.
Dr. Chavis should
That's
be there as
You didn't
well.
hear me say Benjamin Chavis?
I didn't hear you say that. I heard you say two other people, but yeah, they should all be at the table. It's not cool. It's not okay for him. It looks self-serving. And guess what? It looks like once again the white people are conquering and dividing because they know
Divide and
exactly
conquer.
what they're
Yeah.
doing. And Reverend Al Sharpton knows exactly what they're doing.
Yeah, there is absolutely no reason that before this meeting, and the meeting hasn't happened yet, and it's happening in New York too. So it's not like the aforementioned Chavis, Bryant, Derek Johnson can't get to New York in a moment's notice. In fact, Dr. Chavis is currently in New York at the United Nations. He's been speaking there this week. If Sharpton, and we don't know, maybe Sharpton will make the phone call to Dr. Chavis and uh, Reverend Jamal Bryant and Derek Johnson and the rest.
No,
The
he's gonna
Irvin
make it
Lee.
after he makes his. We'll see. Okay,
Well,
we're gonna hold
right,
judgment. We're gonna see. But what did the headline say?
right, exactly. It's
What did the
Sharpton. It's all
headline
Sharpton.
say?
Mhm,
And, and
mhm.
and I think it
I'm
speaks a
with you.
lot to
Believe me,
Target. I think it speaks a lot to Target's leadership as well that they would move this way. And
it
Al Sharp,
does.
yeah, and Al Sharpton's been around long enough to know what this is.
Oh, exactly, exactly. There's nothing he hasn't seen when it comes to this type of stuff. There's nothing many in that in the movement hasn't seen when it comes to this stuff. All I'm saying is that listen, the phone should be ringing this morning. It should have been ringing last night, at the latest last night in the the cell phones of Chavis and Jamal Bryant and the rest saying, "Hey, I need you in New York. We're having this meeting," and that meeting should not take place, especially if you are to believe that Target asked for the meeting.
Right.
That meeting should be on your terms and on every. Listen, I'm getting frustrated.
I mean, it's
let's
just,
let's just see what happens.
and here's the thing. This is what I'm saying about, you know, deciding like, okay, so now looking at my black leadership and I, like I said, I'm gonna move with the people. State of the People tour is kicking off. I'm looking at Reverend Al Sharpton's page right now. Every other black leader is posting their I'm in cards, talking about the state of the people, why you should participate, how we're mobilizing together. Everybody is over there, and Al Sharpton is over here. And it's funny how where he's at is where the money is. You know what I'm saying? Like where he's at is where the money is. He's not over here, trying to figure out how can I do a national tour to talk to black people? How do I mobilize all our leadership, multi-generational leadership? He over there by
Mm,
himself meeting with CEOs.
well, we
Not
we are
cool.
going to see.
Not cool.
That's not. It's not. This is certainly, as we've been saying, is a time that you gotta move unitedly, and this is This can't be about one person, one entity. Somebody
Right.
you mentioned.
And you don't get to speak for us. Let us decide who speaks for us.
So we'll see. Judge Angela Tucker of Collin County in Texas. Is it Texas? Lowered the bond, as we know, for 17-year-old Carmelo Anthony from $1 million to $250,000, which allowed for his release on house arrest. Of course, he's accused of fatally stabbing a fellow student at Austin, fellow student Austin Metcalf, I should say, during a high school track meet in Frisco on April the 2nd. And here's the thing. The judge is now getting death threats, and they have basically have put extra security on the judge, and she's basically in hiding. And the Collin County Sheriff's Office and the FBI have confirmed that they are investigating the multitude of threats, and this is this is as racist as it can be.
I mean,
She lowered the she lowered oh, she just she it was reasonable in this circumstance to lower the bond for this young man, this teenager. It was it was $1 million at first. It's not like she said, here, it's just $2,000 and you can walk. It's still a pretty hefty bond at $250,000.
250,000. That means he has to come up with 25,000. Is it 10? It's 10%, right?
It's generally 10%. I don't know what Texas law is, but it's generally
Oh yeah,
10%.
yeah. It's
Yeah.
10. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think people like forget due process, and you're innocent until proven guilty. And it's at the judge's discretion. He had no prior charges. Okay. It's not like he was a juvenile, repeat offender. His first time ever being arrested. And so I don't, maybe they just don't understand is that the judge looks at all of that when they make their decision. The attorneys have the conversation. So he's getting his due process and he deserves it, folks. She didn't do anything wrong. And a lot of people are comparing this to Kyle Rittenhouse, house, like we talked about. Dylan, the young man who went into that
Oof.
church and shot those people, and the police officers took him to get a Whopper from Burger King before they took him in. And so, and it's people that are getting offended that people are making that comparison. And to me, it's no comparison because he was arrested. He has bail and he will have his day in court and will be judged, have a jury of 12 decide his fate. That is how the judicial system works in this country.
So he will be wearing an ankle monitor while he's out on bail. He will remain under house arrest, and the conditions include not having contact with the victim's family. Supporters of Carmelo have raised over $425,000 for his defense. And look, the family of the victim in this case, or the young man who he stabbed, they've raised more than 350,000. So it's this is crazy. Fonnie Willis,
Yeah.
as Greer said, talked about the same thing. It's a dangerous job to be a prosecutor or a judge. So it is right, and nothing. I don't believe anything will happen, like Orangey says, to the people who threatened her. So there you have it. So anyway,
Yeah.
we keep we keep every single day we are continually reminded of what type of country, what type of world we are living in.
Right, right. Yeah. But the good thing about, having a space like this is that we could talk about it from a different perspective, right?
Mhm.
we can bring
Exactly.
out, different points of views than, other spots.
Yeah, Inferno 932 says there's a case going on right now in Texas for a white person stabbing a Hispanic male in school. Case in Allison is accused of stabbing and killing a student in a high school bathroom in 2022. And David says this all reminds us
Mhm.
that we are black. So he puts it very
Yeah.
succinctly. But here, speaking of being black, it's a really good story, Neil. Fathers Incorporated, their Gentle Warrior Academy, hosted its most monumental graduation to date. On April 12th, over 100 fathers, black fathers, the largest cohort in GWA history, graduated from its transformative fatherhood programs during the Fire 100 graduation at Morehouse School of Medicine in Atlanta. The event featured keynote speaker Dorsey Levens, a Super Bowl champion, Green Bay Packers Hall of Famer, Georgia Tech alum, and board members of Fathers Incorporated. Levens, a dedicated advocate for fathers and families, was said to have delivered a very powerful message of purpose, perseverance, and healing. Of course, Fathers Incorporated's Gentle Warrior Academy will host more of these. So this was really, really great to see, Neil. Talk about a good news, feel good story. There you have it.
Yeah, for sure. There's their narrative that just isn't as they like to make it. There are fathers, black men that are fathers that are in the households that want to take care of their children. And so I think, yeah, for 100% amplifying the story is so important to get out there. And maybe this will be the hub, and then it'll just spread on a national level. Wouldn't that be cool to see?
Yeah,
Wait, it was
I
saying
was,
something. Yeah.
yeah. Let's see. So I'm getting so folks, what I'm doing right now is my attention span is very, very all over the place. But I'm getting messages shared between Dr. Chavis and Dr. Jamal Bryant as we speak. And I'm trying to decipher um, whether or not now what I see here is Dr. Chavis and uh, Jamal Bryant in constant communication from this thread here. Um, but what I'm not getting from this message is that Sharpton is in communication on this issue with Target. Yeah, so Jamal Bryant was also in New York yesterday, and he has left New York, is what he's saying in his message here. So no, apparently they will not be on this meeting.
It's so funny. Jamal
Now, Dr.
Bryant was.
Chavis is saying, I'm sorry, Dr. Chavis is saying he is going to reach out to Sharpton today. He says he and Jamal Bryant are on the same page.
Well, it's just interesting. Jamal Bryant and his wife were just at Reverend Al Sharpton's conference. Was it last week? And they helped support and participate in that. And and I'm sure he was talking about what was going on at Target at the National Action Network conference, which is just
Yeah,
another reason why this looks bad for Reverend Al Sharpton.
yeah,
And now they're chasing him down to have a conversation with him when it should be the other way around.
yeah, yeah. So again, Sharpton should not be meeting by himself. That's the
No,
bottom
not at
line.
all. Mm-mm. No,
Yeah,
he should not.
should not be meeting. Yeah, this is really
And this is why you have a younger generation who is not following nobody.
yeah,
They ain't following nobody.
Mm. So okay, so there's another message that Jamal Bryant is planning to see Sharpton. So he didn't know apparent what it appears. And again, this is just all happening really fast, folks. It appears that neither Jamal Bryant nor Dr. Chavis knew about this meeting with between Sharpton and Target. So we'll see. We will see. And Dr.
Well,
Davis is
what's next,
scheduled to
Stacey?
leave New York himself. So anyway, the first time in Army history, it's another good story, a positive story for you, Neil. For the first time in Army history, a female service member completed the grueling Best Ranger competition. First Lieutenant Gabrielle White, a 25-year-old West Point graduate, became the first female and obviously the first Black woman Ranger ever to compete in the annual 3-day, 30-event marathon that unfolded April 13th at Fort Benning in Georgia. The events included helicopter missions, land navigation, weapon qualification, and various physical tests. She was she was the only woman on any of the 52 two-person teams. 52 two-person teams. And she was the only woman that competed, with her team making it to the final events, even as other teams dropped out. Her team placed 14th overall. The competition included 103 men and just her. She is both the first woman and the first African American woman to compete. It is a major, major milestone for the Army, especially at a time when the role of women in combat has come under scrutiny during the Trump administration. So there you have it.
Mm. Yeah, Black girl magic.
Listen, you say magic, I say toughness, resilience, the determination, strength, and you can just add so many more adjectives to that.
For
Amazing
sure.
stuff. Amazing stuff. RG, who is a veteran himself, says salute to her. So there you have it, Meow.
There we go.
Good
All right.
news for you. Good news for you.
Are we ready to jump into some quickies?
Go ahead. Quick.
Uh-uh. Let it be known, family, guess who is on the top of George Clooney's list to be the next president of the United States? You might be
Okay.
surprised. So yesterday, George Clooney appeared on CNN with Jake Tapper. And thanks, Greer, for giving away too soon. But it looks like top of George Clooney list is Wes Moore, the governor. He sang his praises from him being in the armed forces, how he handled that tragedy that happened in Maryland with the boat and the bridge. And he has financial experience. He said that he is the one. He had a couple other people, but he actually said that Wes Moore was at the top of his list to be one of the viable candidates for the Democratic Party to be the next president. It was a really interesting conversation. George Clooney is currently on Broadway right now in a play called Good Night and Good Luck. And it's about the golden age of broadcasting. And so it's critically acclaimed, but I thought it was very interesting that he chose Wes Moore to be the top of his list. I found it interesting too. He said he's so well spoken. Well, was he not to be well spoken? But
Oh
nevertheless, he's at the
boy.
top of his list.
You can interpret that a few ways.
Right. But over I found it refreshing and interesting that his number one pick was Wes Moore. And we know what happened when he put that letter out about Joe Biden. Joe Biden went away. So there might be some talks in the powers that be about Wes Moore being the viable contender, leaving.
But yeah, the talk is it's not new. It's not new. Westmore,
For sure, it's
it's
not new.
yeah.
Yeah.
He's considered along with a couple of others, including your governor out there, Gavin Newsom, as some of the potentially top contenders for the Democratic nomination in
Yeah.
2028. So
hmm So yeah, so
we will
that's what
see.
they're talking about on Broadway. And then in a couple of races that we probably want to talk about. Well, one in particular that is too close to call. There was a special election held in Oakland, California on Tuesday between Barbara Lee and Lauren Taylor. Now, these two are running for the mayor of Oakland. As you know, Barbara Lee left Congress, and so it's too close to call. It's less than 1,000 votes. That's why every vote counts. And Barbara Lee says it's too close, and she's holding out to see what the count is as of Friday because Oakland is still counting votes.
So he's up about 1,000 votes, or
Less than
she?
1,000. He's up less than 1,000
Okay,
votes. So it's
okay.
too close to call, and she's holding out as she should, because they're still counting vote. I think it's like less than 700 as of last night. That's how close the race is. And when you looked at the other candidates that were on the ticket, it just shows you how every vote counts. Because one other person candidate had the votes that she needed. They were able to pull the
Mm.
votes that she needed to even be neck and neck. And then there were two others, and they got like 500 votes apiece. So every
How
vote
big
counts.
is Oakland?
I mean, it's big. I mean, it's a city. It's a city that has a lot of issues. Um, it has a lot of issues, so they need some leadership up there.
I was just saying
Um,
about, with the delay, well, not necessarily delay, but with the ongoing vote count and the different areas coming in, it just seems like I mean, it's not New York City. It's not
I
Los
mean, but that's how
Angeles.
all elections. But that's pretty much how when you have two strong contenders. He's a former city council member. That's how local elections work. That happens all the time. Every vote, like when it's close like this. I mean, I've seen this happen before. It's not uncommon.
No, no, that is not uncommon to have the count drag on a little bit. What you said before that, you said that votes came in from this district or this area, whatever. And
No,
when
I
you
said
hear
from this
that,
candidate. Yeah. No, so okay, let me be clear. So they weren't the only two names on the ticket. There were like people names on the ticket, and they were able to pull votes. So it was like maybe five candidates on the ballot, including these two, and the other
okay,
three candidates pulled votes. So that's why it's always good when you're running for office. You want to get all of the stragglers out because those are votes that you could need to win the election. So the other three people that were in the race, those votes could very well make or break either candidate
mhm, yeah,
because it's so close.
okay. And Dr. Joni says that there's 500,000 people in Oakland.
Thank you, Dr. Joni.
um,
Yeah, local elections can get heated like this, and I know here in LA, who was running? I think it was when well, so many people. We're constantly we have the LA County. You could pull up. I'm pretty sure. Well, I'm not sure, but a lot of cities you could pull county registers a voting sheet, and every congress member, every city council member, whatever's on the ballot, and we just sit and watch it and just watch it until you
okay.
come out with the winner when it's too close to call. So we'll keep an eye on that. We'll keep an eye and see where they are tomorrow, because if Barbara Lee doesn't get that seat, then she will probably be out of politics for a minute.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
So
that's the dice that she rolled. So
right.
we'll see what happens. I
Right.
like Barbara Lee. Barbara Lee's always
And
been
then
really cool.
finally on yesterday, Shirley Ralph received a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, and she is trending all over social media. She was so overwhelmed, so full of joy. She had her sister actors out supporting her, and it was just a beautiful thing to see her get her flowers. And she's calling herself. They were like, "Are you going to retire?" She says she is going to be the Black Betty White. She ain't going nowhere.
Mm.
She's going to act until the acting is off the table. There she
Why not?
goes. And then Ice Cube earlier this week
Oh Lord.
left his mark. He already received the star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, but at the Chinese theater here, they have
Well,
the
I was hoping
handprint,
his
the
hands got stuck in
footprints,
there.
and he had his hands imprinted, and it's so cool to be from LA. When you're an LA native, you know everybody up there is traditionally not from California, Los Angeles. And so to see somebody like this from South Central LA have his legacy cemented in Hollywood, that is really a cool thing to see. And that happened earlier this week.
Yeah. So, are we ready to pull somebody's black card?
Oh, go for it.
I was like, okay, she's not ready to pull somebody's black card. All right, so
No, go for it.
so once again, there's always several contenders, but I just landed on Azealia Banks. She messed around and found out her people like Sexy Red, Snoop Dogg, the aforementioned Ice Cube, and the rest of the misfits. They can all sit out the cookout, or better yet, they can go have some raisins in their potato salad, some flavorless greens with Tim Scott and Byron Allen, or Donalds, I should say, not about Byron Allen, Clarence Thomas, and the rest of them who desperately want to cozy up to power at the expense, I should say, of Black folks. So, Azealia Banks, you know what? You in your you announcing your amalgam does nothing for the cookout. So you're not invited. You're done. You're finished.
Well, good thing she admitted it. She made a mistake.
Yeah,
She made a
but
mistake.
no, she messed around. I don't call it a mistake. Don't call it a comeback. She's she knew what she was doing. Thought she was cute doing it
No,
too.
she didn't.
So
She really didn't know what she was.
she
She
didn't know
didn't
what she
know.
was doing.
I'm glad. I'm
Mhm.
glad that she knows now, though. That was a horrible choice. Because
Oh,
we're gonna need
gosh.
everybody. We're gonna need everybody. So I'm glad that she realized it, and
Yeah,
she's
she's
being
got a
dragged on social media right now. So she's finding out. She's being dragged right now on social media.
yeah,
Yeah, she's
yeah, she's
definitely
got
lost her black card on the internet for right now.
she's
Kind
like
of
she's
like Chrisette
at the
Michelle.
well,
Chrisette
it's
Michelle.
interesting. It's interesting that Chrisette Michelle received that backlash that these men didn't receive.
Oh no, Snoop got dragged. He got dragged, and so did Nelly.
Yeah,
They
but
both got dragged.
they got dragged for a minute.
I
Everybody's
mean,
still
people are
inviting them.
still looking at everybody's still looking at Snoop side eye. He just made times 100, which I think he still deserves it. I mean, what he did for the Olympics and him just stepping out, kind of like Ice Cube, people, marginalize you to being just a gangster rapper, and how he's been able to just transcend all of those narratives to being with Martha Stewart, doing the Olympics. I mean, he shouldn't have performed, but one of the reason why I'm bringing this up is because what he said in Time Magazine was that he's not Democrat or Republican, he's gangster. I
Yeah,
mean, and
he's
I get
gangster, all right. He showed differently though. He can say all he
I
want,
get
but
it.
your
I
actions speak louder than your words, and he didn't show no gangster.
but I can
He
understand.
showed
Let me just say
capitulation,
this.
and gangsters don't capitulate.
No, let me just say this. Let me just say this. I can understand why some black people, none of this government stuff, especially black men, why none of this stuff resonates with them, because they do not see themselves in the process. they do not see the benefit of it all. I'm not saying that it's right. I'm not saying that it's wrong. I'm just saying that I understand. I
Oh, when
understand
you
why
have,
some black
they should
men
understand.
don't
They
agree
sh-
with the system.
they should understand, and right, but they should understand too, and I'm sure they do, because when they want to promote a product or a song or a movie or whatever, they understand the power of their platform. So they do understand that they have this platform, and they do understand if they open their eyes. Right, Dr. Joni, this guy is blatantly racist and proud of it. It doesn't take much to see that, right? So they understand they have a platform. If you don't use that platform responsibly, then you're useless. All your accomplishments, I could care less that you won these awards, that you was able to come out of the ghetto and this and that. If your actions are making sure that nobody else can come out of the ghetto, then heck with you. So all that is useless to
But
me.
I'm just saying, I think that that's why a lot of black don't vote, because they don't believe in the system. And
And
so
I
it's
get
easy for
that.
them to it's easy for them to be able to say this or say that or do this or do that, and they don't vote because they don't see themselves in the system. So whether you're Frats and you don't vote, or whether you're for Republicans and you don't vote, I mean, it's just, I'm saying I can understand why they don't.
That part I get, but to use your platform to advance the candidacy, if you will, of somebody who is intent on doing people who look like you harm is a problem. It's a big problem. Ice Cube is no
It
dummy.
depends on how they see it. I mean, like everybody has their reason for why they don't vote. I mean, it just depends on how they see
I'm
things.
not talking about whether
Maybe
they're
they don't.
voting or not. I'm not talking about
But
whether
it
they're
all
voting or
plays
not.
in. But it all plays into that because but you're bringing up people who really don't participate. Ice Cube don't go for Democrat or Republican. Snoop
Right?
Dogg don't
So
go Democrat or Republican. They're doing it in their own way. Maybe and I'm not I think that you should vote. I think that you should be a part of the participation, but they also feel like they give back to their community. They're in their community making a difference and a change. They just don't believe in the system and how they do things. So Ice Cube does a lot of things out here in LA and in
mhm,
California.
mhm,
Snoop
mhm,
Dogg does a lot. So they do so into their community. I know anytime Mayor Butts here in Inglewood needs Snoop Dogg to do anything for the community,
mhm,
he is there.
mhm.
I don't
Yeah.
appreciate him performing at that crypto ball and for him, but I do know that he is heavily involved in the crypto industry.
Mhm,
And I'm not saying that personally, I'm just saying he put Death Row Records. So he has a connection to crypto. And,
mhm,
Donald Trump pardoned Harry O. So they have their own
mhm.
reasons why they do things. I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying it's wrong, but everybody has their reasons for why they vote, why they don't vote. Everybody has their reasons why they do this, they do that. But at the end of the day, they not no, it impacts us. I wish he would vote, but I'm not saying throw him away because he doesn't think like how I think.
So you ever know somebody who probably had, a lot of a lot of means, a lot of resources, and they didn't mind, if you needed something, they didn't mind giving it to you, but they never wanted you to have what they had. They don't mind, like, okay, you need $5, I'll give you $5. But I don't want you to be successful like me. I don't want you to be a millionaire like me. I want you to continue to always look to me for stuff. There's a lot of people like that. You know that? It's a lot of black people like that. And what you describe with Snoop and Ice Cube and those giving back to the community, that's all that is. Because that you
That's not
prove that
true because they
they
put
prove
people
they
on. No,
prove
that's not
that
true. That's
they
not
prove
true.
that
What are
to
you talking
me
about?
when you gonna talk about and intimate, even if you're not coming out and saying it, intimate that you support this stuff that Trump and
Support
his
what
administration is
stuff?
doing.
I haven't seen Snoop or Ice Cube do that. I just haven't seen it.
I don't
I
know where
haven't
you've
seen
been.
it.
I don't know where you've been if you haven't seen that.
I've been covering it. I haven't seen them do that.
You just
I haven't
said, for
seen it.
instance, you just said Snoop went to the crypto ball that
He
Trump
performed
for
at the
Trump.
crypto ball
Right. It was a
for
Trump
crypto.
event.
It was a Trump event. I don't agree. I wouldn't have done that, but I said I understand why he did.
That's your understanding, and I just gave you mine.
I understand why he did.
Okay, I
You
understand
know,
too.
and that's the one thing. The one thing, you know, even though we don't like it, that is the liberty of being an American, is to have your right to choose. It's his
Absolutely.
choice.
Right.
You know what I'm
It's
saying?
his choice to support
And
MAGA. Whether in word or in deed, it's his choice.
right. Mm-hmm.
And that's exactly how many, not just me, many view it, that they sold out. And there's no erasing that. So look, we disagree.
Inferno.
And it's
Well, everybody know. What about Shaq at the wrestling event?
we talked, right. We pulled his card because you can't at this moment, as a Shaq O'Neal, as a Snoop Dogg, and you, like you mentioned, we talked about this in the past when it happened. Snoop and this whole Harry O thing. What did Harry O do? Sell drugs to kids, black kids in the community. So you're gonna celebrate that? Somebody said one
Celebrate
of the
what?
worst. I'm not saying you
Celebrate what?
personally.
Celebrate what?
I'm saying Snoop is celebrating the fact that Trump pardoned Harry O. Look what Harry O was not a political prisoner.
I didn't say that.
I know. I didn't say
that.
you said. I didn't say you said. I'm saying
Thank you.
Snoop
That's his
Dogg.
friend. That's his friend. So let me ask the chat. Let me ask the chat. If you had a one that was incarcerated and and you had the opportunity to free your loved one or friend that has been incarcerated for so many years, and you had the opportunity to do it, are you telling me you wouldn't do it because of Donald Trump?
What I'm saying, folks, just
I'm
don't get it
I'm
twisted
waiting. I'm
now.
waiting.
Right, right. I want to hear from them too, but put it in the proper context. Does that mean now you come out publicly and support this man? This
I
guy
mean,
that
I
you
think that
know?
if you look at, if you know how politics are ran on the Hill, if you know how politics are ran on the Hill, then you know that, you know, sometimes it's not even about liking the person, but it's about politicking. They do it all the time. Hakeem Jeffries, everybody, they do it all the time
So
on
he just
Capitol
said
Hill.
it's apolitical. He's not a politician either. That's not a fair comparison, is what I'm saying. And again, it's a way he could have celebrated his friend's return to, getting out of prison. He could have done that without endorsing Donald Trump. That's all I'm saying. He didn't have to go that far. But
I don't see, I think that, like I said, I wouldn't have performed at the inauguration. But he explained why he did what he did. And I just think that to disregard how Black men feel about a system that has never really been to them, instead of, let's figure out how to make them feel inclusive about it and how to bring them to the table, instead of judging them for the decisions that they make based upon how they've been treated in this country.
I think
And
you're
I'd
making the
rather have an
argument that
ally with Snoop. If I'd rather have Snoop and Ice Cube sitting at the table than to disregard them and tell them, "Oh, you're nincompoops because you didn't do what I think that you should do," when I don't know the experience that they went through.
that is a bad misrepresentation of what I'm saying. That's a horrible
In
misrepresentation.
your opinion, you know, in your opinion. See, I like to make space and leave room for people to come to the table. I don't like to judge them and say things and then be so dismissive of them that they don't feel like they could sit at the table, especially when my objective is to organize and bring our community together. And I'm just saying that I can relate. I can understand why some black men don't vote, why they
It's
don't
not at
participate,
all
or they
what I'm
do things. Wait,
saying,
let me
though.
just say this.
You keep
Let me just
saying
say
that.
this.
That's
Or
not
they
what I'm
do things,
saying, yeah.
or they do things their way. They're doing things their way. They have raised the bar to where they feel like they take care of their village, they take care of their community, they do what they need to know how their survival is. What's happening up here? They don't even see those effects of everything, you know, that we're talking about. So I'm just saying there are levels. There are levels to this conversation. From Al Sharpton not talking to Jamal Bryant to the rappers over here doing, there are levels to this conversation, and it is by design. It is systemic racism. So, and this is how it has divided us. So all I'm saying is, Stacey, instead of saying that to disregard them, to say what they did and that they can't have a seat at the table, no, that's your choice. But now, like Azalea Banks, I'm glad that she is coming out. She didn't have to say that. She didn't have to tweet that. But she is coming to a realization that she made a mistake. That's a young girl. Honey, I'm glad that you realized that. You didn't got your black card removed. But guess what? You could still come on over because now you know the difference. Come on over and let's do the right thing and join the village. That's all I'm saying.
See, you're equating everything to voting. I'm not talking about voting at all. I'm not talking about voting. You're equating all of that to voting. Snoop Dogg and Ice Cube and them, you're equating all that to voting. I was not. I was
But I
simply
mean,
saying,
okay.
I was simply saying that, and you made the point that, and I don't know whether or not they vote or not. I could care less, right? Whether that's their choice, like you said. But they have made it a point to push Donald Trump, to push his policies, to
Who are you talking
endorse it.
about? Who are you talking about? When Snoop Dogg ever came out and endorsed any policy of Donald Trump?
Guilt
When
by
When
association.
has Ice Cube ever came out? His contract to Black America was for Republicans and Democrats. And what he
Ice
said,
Cube
what
actually,
Ice Cube said, I'm not
Hakeem
sitting with none
Jeffries,
of y'all.
Ha-
I'm not sitting with none of y'all.
Hakeem Jeffries categorically destroyed Ice Cube's comments about reaching out to Democrats and reaching out to Republicans. Hakeem Jeffries categorically said Ice Cube lied. So I think I'm more inclined to believe Hakeem Jeffries on that. That's
And
all I'm
I'm more
saying.
inclined to believe Ice Cube because I
I know.
interviewed him several times about his contract
I
related
interviewed
to
Ice
Black
Cube
America.
too.
And but I'm talking about, I'm talking about the contract. Did you interview him about the contract?
Say again?
The whole conversation. Did you interview him about his contract? The
No, I
whole
did not.
reason why, yeah. So that's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about his hip hop career. I'm talking about when he decided to say, hey, I don't care if
Mhm.
it's a Republican, I don't care if it's a Democrat. I'm doing a letter to find equity and fairness for Black people. And I'm not taking nobody's side. That's what I'm talking about. He was on an island by himself. It was very provocative. It was very like, oh, okay. But I understood where he was coming from. And so Hakeem Jeffries can say whatever, but Hakeem Jeffries has a
Let's be,
problem right
wait,
now
wait.
on the
Let
hill.
me be clear. Well, let me be clear on this. When Ice Cube said he had a contract for America, I said
Black
for Black
America.
America, right? I said that okay, at least somebody is doing something. But Ice Cube took it to another level, though. Ice Cube went on to say, "Oh, Donald Trump is the only one that listened to me," and started in that way, promoting this guy as some sort of hero, as some sort of guy that we should be able to trust, that people should be able to trust, I should say, black people. That's where he lost me. That's where he
But I mean,
began to lose me,
no,
I
no,
should
no,
say.
no. But that goes back to we've been having this conversation for weeks about how the Democratic Party has a problem. Why didn't they? Why didn't they decide to have? Why didn't they listen to him? Why didn't
Well,
they do the same
according
thing
to
that Donald Trump did?
according to Hakeem Jeffries, Ice Cube never reached out to them.
And he's saying that he did.
Like I said, I'm more inclined to believe Hakeem. I think Ice Cube, Trump was eager to give him an audience. Like he was eager to shake Steve Harvey's hand and do photo ops. Like he was eager to bring in those HBCU presidents in his first term for that photo op. And I think that's all it's about. Anyway.
Well, put it this way: the Democratic Party has a problem, and instead of pointing the fingers, we have to figure out how to bring people in.
Well, there's some people who I disagree with you. That some people who, if I'm a Democrat or Republican, there's some people I don't need you aligning yourself with me. There's just some people like that brings nothing to the table. Ice Cube and them, they got their own table. Let them sit there and let them do whatever they're gonna do with it, because they have already shown, in my view, and a lot of people's views, not just mine, and I know a lot of people support them. Will beg to differ, but they have misused it so badly that okay, go ahead with yours. You got that. But that's how I see it. I don't think you need everybody. I don't. There's some people that just not worthy
Well,
of
you're
that
right.
seat.
You don't need everybody. You don't need everybody. But those that are stakeholders in certain instances, like we know for a fact that the Democratic Party has a problem with black men. We know that for a fact. We know that for a fact. Democratic Party has a problem with
Democrats
black
do.
men.
You're right. They have a
They have a party.
problem
They
with
have a
black.
problem with black men. They do.
They
And
do. And Republicans hate black men. So pick your poison.
but Republicans also find a way to entice black men.
That's stupid. That's really ignorant of those black men who could be enticed by
You
someone who
can't,
hates
but
you.
see, what you're not looking at the total struggle of black men in this country.
Well,
You're not
I'm a black
you're not
man in this country.
exact. You're not looking at it from a perspective of how a black man feels when it comes to politics and how they're treated in this
Well, maybe you got
country.
me there. But I'm just thinking overall how we've been
Well,
treated
no,
in this
but we're not
country.
talking overall. We're talking politics right now.
Okay. All right. So now you got me on that.
And
You got
so
me.
they're making decisions that are best for them, and their village and their tax bracket. I don't see Ice Cube and since we're talking about Ice Cube and Soup, I don't see them in at Mar-a-Lago. I don't see them at the White House. I don't see them engaging in a way with this administration. I just see them making business moves and them politicking, just like everybody else does. Now, when Nancy Pelosi and all them other people politic and they do this, and Chuck Schumer and all these people, they politicking, they doing what they do. But when the black man does it, it's a problem. When the black rapper does it, it's a problem.
Well, I just look at people's platforms. If you have that platform, it'd be like the black press, standing up for and supporting fascism, so standing up and supporting racism in some form, the Confederacy in some form. If you have that platform, you just can't do that, in my opinion. But anyway,
And in the words of
that's
Beyonce and Kendrick Lamar, America has a problem.
they've always had a problem. You're right. So anyway, Black history facts. This is an interesting one that I think often gets overlooked, Niel. The fight for full and equal access to America's public accommodations is as old as the country itself, with skirmishes still even being fought to this day, as we know. But many of the fight's battlegrounds are now synonymous with the Black struggle for self-determination. The lunch counter, we know about that. The railway car and the city bus transformed into crucibles where critically important activists, legislative and judicial history would be forged. California, of course, has been important for these events since its founding. One of the earliest occurred on this date in 1863 when San Francisco's Charlotte L. Brown tried to take a horse-drawn streetcar ride that would prefigure, of course, Rosa Parks's transformative act of civil disobedience on December 1st, 1955. Brown, of course, would be manhandled and thrown off a streetcar that she had successfully ridden on more than one occasion. Her experience reflecting the sorts of uncertainty and impunity many Black patrons faced at the hands of service providers across the country. So the conductor, she said, went around and collected tickets. And when he came to her, she says, I handed him my ticket and he refused it. She sued, right? They kicked her off. She sued. She won the lawsuit, but they only gave her 5 cents, the cost of the ticket. Then it happened again, and she sued again for $3,000, and they wound up giving her $500. But it was the first of a string of cases in San Francisco where Black citizens pressed private streetcar companies, I should say, to end segregation. And in 1893, the California legislature ended the practice statewide. So I thought it was important to really get into that story, to understand what that really entails for this for Charlotte L. Brown.
We say her name, Charlotte L. Brown. And I like this Black History fact by Orrin G. Doug Williams from Grambling was drafted 50 football seasons ago this week. Williams became the first African-American quarterback taken in the first round. And of course, I had to do that because, that's my alma mater, Grambling State University.
He became the first Black quarterback to win the Super Bowl.
Exactly, yeah. And Eddie Robinson was the winningest coach in football history. I don't know if somebody broke that record yet, but
Grambling's record still stands, I believe, to this day. And what a great coach. Coach Robinson was unbelievable.
I used to be in the yard and he would be there. I was there like right before he retired, and it would just be so cool to see him just, on the yard. His wife, Miss Robinson, and it was just such a family oriented. That's why I love HBCU, because it's such a family oriented vibe. You go in the class, hey, Mr. Robinson, hey, darling.
Is that what he said? Hey, darling.
Yeah, hey.
Also on this date in 1990, playwright August Wilson won his second Pulitzer Prize for the play The Piano Lesson. Of course, August Wilson did Fences. So, so there you have it. Our Black facts for today. And of course, our Black-owned newspaper of the day is the Atlanta Daily World. The Daily World was founded as the Weekly Atlanta World on August the 5th, 1928 by William Alexander Scott. The second, actually, William Alexander Scott II, who was only 26 years old. He was a Morehouse graduate who later worked as the only Black clerk on the Jacksonville to Washington, D.C. rail line. And then in 1927, published a Jacksonville business directory to help Blacks find each other. Isn't that something? A year later, he published a similar directory for the city of Atlanta. The first Black daily in the 20th century, first successful Black daily ever, first Black newspaper with assigned White House correspondent Harry S. Alpin, and one of the first Black newspapers to report Black on Black crimes. And of course, the first Black newspaper to have its name on a major airport newsstand. So there you have it. The Atlanta Daily World is our Black-owned newspaper of the day. And of course, they publish daily too online. So check them out.
Yes, yes. And for more of those headlines, Stacey, what you writing about today? What you got on the wire today?
Oh, God. So I'm going to do more on the mayor's conference. And I'm going to do something about our visit to the Smithsonian African American Museum.
Nice, nice, nice. Love that.
There
Oh,
you
and
have it.
PepsiCo meets with Sharpton. So is that headline going to change to what's going on in Black leadership? Why is Sharpton meeting without the rest of the tribe? You got that one, Stacey?
Why? Yeah, that's one to work on. That's for sure. I'm looking forward to reaching out to. Yeah, I listen. I've got to reach out to both Dr. Chavis and Dr. Bryant and get their take on this. So we'll see.
Are you going to reach out to Sharpton?
I am going to reach out to Sharpton,
All right.
and see if he's going to respond, because as somebody pointed out, it's interesting that his network got the story first, mainstream MSNBC, NBC News, which should have been a Black press story, but we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. But for those headlines and a lot more of what's impacting and uplifting the Black experience in America, you can head over to blackpressusa.com.
There you go. And folks, tomorrow's Friday. Can't wait for Friday. Can't wait for Friday to be over. Well, the day to be over. Then we go into Friday night. You took a long flight, so I'm sure
I need
you
a
can't
nap,
wait to rest.
and then I'll wake
There
up.
you go.
And yeah.
All right, folks. Let her take a nap. We'll see you tomorrow.